You have visited dozens of doctors and specialists. You've run multiple tests and the results are coming back normal, but your symptoms like abdominal pain, cramping, constipation or diarrhea, bloating, hair loss, and food sensitivities definitely don't seem normal. Well, what if there was a test that your healthcare provider probably never thought to run? And what if this test could provide you the answers you have been looking for? Keep listening because Kimberly and I will talk about tests we run in our clinics that will help you find the root cause of your hair loss and GI problems. Hello, thank you for listening to Thyroid Hair Loss Connection podcast, a science-based, honest, candid conversation about how your thyroid affects your hair. You will learn practical solutions to hair growth, healing your thyroid, and balancing hormones with holistic nutrition approach and the latest treatments. Your hosts, me, Nataliia Sanzo, a registered dietitian, aka Nashville thyroid expert, and Kimberly Vaughn, a board-certified trichologist, hair loss specialist, and coach. To stay up to date on the latest topics, make sure to subscribe to our channel. We also cannot do this without you. Send us a question to the link below and tune in each week for the answers. Now, let's head to the show. Hi, Kimberly. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, Nataliia. How are you?
Fantastic.
You know, I'm feeling good. I'm starting to see a little bit of the humidity kind of die down, and I'm starting to feel a little bit better and excited about so many things coming up for the remainder of this year for us and our podcast, as well as for you and your personal business and me and my personal business. So yes. I'm excited. Today's a good day.
Yes, today is a good day. Definitely. So many, we have quite a few announcements, and this is going to be our last episodes before season finale, but we'll get to that. But today, Kimberly and I are talking about tests that we run in our clinics that help you find the root cause of your hair loss and GI problems. So before we jump into it, I wanted to remind you guys that Kimberly and I dedicated a whole episode talking about the connection between our gut health and hair loss. And I believe it was episode number 11. This connection is very well established, right? We know that by improving our gut health, we can improve just about every function in our body. A healthy gut translates into a healthy environment for different microorganisms to carry out their systems and processes, right, which have an impact on everything from your thyroid to skin, your mood, to your hair health. So needless to say, your gut health plays a huge role in hair loss. And if you listen to episode 11, you will learn that the right balance of good and bad bacteria can be a game changer in improving your hair loss. You can learn how gut health influence your hair growth cycle, digestive issues that affect scalp and hair growth, and how hormones can affect hair growth as well. So make sure you listen to that episode and grab a freebie, 10 ways to improve your gut health and in turn improve your hair loss. And the reason I'm saying all of this because this is kind of sets the stage for the two tests that we'll be talking about today. So how can you... So not only we're going to be talking about the test, but we'll tell you exactly how to improve your gut. But to improve your gut health, you obviously need to know what's wrong with it. And although we all have been raised to believe that medication is the best way to treat gut problems, the truth is that while drugs may relieve symptoms, a real and lasting solution comes from addressing the underlying cause. While I'm sure your well-meaning doctors want to provide you relief, it is difficult to implement a plan of action when the tests that they're running cannot diagnose the problem. But what if there was a test that could provide you the answers you've been looking for? So I know, Kimberly, if you can start us off by introducing the tests that you run in your clinic that can help our listeners to get to the root cause of their hair loss.
Oh, certainly. So we started working with a test by an organization out of Australia called Cell Wellbeing. And the test is an epigenetic test. And I'll go into more detail later in this episode about exactly what epigenetics is and how the CDC reports the validation of the testing. But we have just had such great results with this particular test. And when I say great results, it's because it helps us truly get to the root of one's problem. You know, as we've mentioned so many times, hair loss, hair growth can really start with holistic approaches, and it really can vary and be dependent upon underlying health issues.
Absolutely. We cannot wait to hear more details about it. And, you know, in my clinic, I run what we call GI map test, which not only helps me and my clients treat thyroid disease, but also address hair loss. So let's talk about GI map test. It's a go-to test that given answers for majority of my clients, and what I want to share, and I want to share all the details about, because I believe that you are the expert on your body, and I'm here to get you the answers with the help of this test. So let's get to the root cause of your symptoms by understanding this comprehensive test. So what exactly is the GI map test? The GI map test is also known as the GI Microbial Assay Plus test. It's a comprehensive stool analysis and molecular test that looks at the DNA and genes of specific organism in your gut. In plain English, the GI map test gives you a comprehensive overview of your gut health. This is crucial because this information can reveal the root cause of specific symptoms you are having, even with normal thyroid labs or normal blood work. It can give you a whole list of pathogens, beneficial and opportunistic organism or good organism in the stool samples. So here are some things that the GI map test can test for or diagnose. It tests pathogens, H. pylori, Epstein-Barr virus, leaky gut through testing zonulin, normal bacteria flora, our good bacteria, bad microbes, which, it's associated with SIBO, the small intestine bacterial overgrowth. The tests for viruses, parasites, fungi, and yeast, and also antibiotic-resistant genes.
Nataliia, so, wow, this GI map test really is like you said, comprehensive. And, our goal here is to be trusted resources for our listeners, for our clients, for anyone that has any forms of issues with thyroid disease and hair loss, hair growth, and all of those areas that revolve around, right? But there are two questions I want to ask about what you just spoke about. So when you said fungi, so is that the same as overgrowth of candida in the gut?
So yes, candida is actually, it's a pathogenic bacteria that is present in every body, right? But it only creates a problem when overgrowth happens. So it's always there, but yes, when overgrowth happens, that's where we have to pay attention to it.
That's great. And this test will identify that.
Absolutely.
Okay,
yes.
Terrific. So, because that is definitely a problem. And I know our cell well-being epigenetic test definitely looks at gut health, but it doesn't go nearly that deep. So that's terrific that we have that resource now.
Yes. And just to kind of go from what you said, candida overgrowth is very, happens very often in patients with Hashimoto's, just because it's autoimmune disease. It causes gut problems, and it creates a perfect environment for overgrowth of this fungi, right? And I actually had a client just last week that came to me she was suffering from fatigue, bloating, rashes, joint pain, and her thyroid labs were normal, her blood work was normal, so she couldn't figure out where all those symptoms were coming from. So of course we ordered a GI map test, and when the results came back, I saw that she had candida overgrowth, and that specifically it can cause many chronic issues like fatigue and lethargy and rashes and joint pain, constipation, and diarrhea. So to treat her, I suggested to reduce intake of sugar, starches, and sugar, starches, and fungi. So we added high dose of probiotics, such as I don't know if I'm going to say it right, but it's called Saccharomyces boulardii. So it actually treats candida, and we also added antifungal herbs.
Oh, wow.
So I do work with it very closely, and everything that GI map shows, it gets treated.
And how long would someone expect it to take before they would see a difference if you are just treating this fungi or candida overgrowth?
It all depends. Clients reported improvement symptoms within 3 days, and some takes up to 2 weeks. It all depends where they are with that overgrowth. If it was just at the beginning of the, gross overgrowth, or they already have had chronic infection.
Okay. That's great to know, because yes, we have so many clients who come in that if they have had the GI mapping test elsewhere before they come, and they will talk about an issue with candida and having an overgrowth. Sadly, many of them though are in treatment month 1, month 2, month 3, and we're not seeing the results from our hair stimulation and our hair growth treatment. And so I'm challenged, on how to help them, because I know there's more going on, and they've had the mapping test done elsewhere. And at the end of the day, I think it comes back to, how aggressive is someone going to be, a provider, a physician, a naturopath, and really trying to make a difference. And then certainly to add insult to injury, if there's even a thyroid problem that's on top of this.
Exactly.
So that's great. Okay, then my next question is, so you mentioned antibiotic resistant genes. And so this GI mapping test will identify the genes, or will it identify the actual antibiotic resistant that your body might have? And then, thirdly, and then could it also let you know if you have lingering antibiotics in the system that are pulling the immune system down, which is what we see so much right now, right? For the last year and a half post-pandemic, and I probably even more than that, 2 years, right? I keep forgetting how long ago this pandemic started. But so, we have so many individuals that have been on any type of autoimmune treatment or any type of treatment, certainly that their physicians or that, that has been approved by the CDC to help with long haul COVID. And then now we're moving into flu season and strep season. Oh my gosh. Every time I turn around, somebody says, oh, I've been on a Z-Pack. I'm on another antibiotic. I'm on my 3rd round of antibiotics. So how does this fit in with the antibiotic dosing?
Yes, Kimberly, unfortunately, the GI map test does not test for specific genes that you are resistant to. It only gives you either a positive or a negative result. So if you have a positive results for antibiotic resistance gene, that means that that the antibiotic therapy is not an ideal choice for you to treat the infection. So that's where you have to kind of rely more on natural ways, like, look into food protocols, herbs, supplements. So I think it just gives you a better idea of what's the best treatment for you right now.
Right. Well, and I know in the past, I use the term Z-Pack, because at one time, probably 5 years ago, I couldn't get rid of a particular type of sinus infection that I had. And I finally put my foot down when the physician said, well, you've been on 2 rounds of these Z-Packs, and supposedly they were the cure-all at the time. He said, I'm going to go ahead and call you in another round of antibiotics with something else. And I go, whoa, time out. I said, my immune system is shot at this point. And I mean, I didn't feel any better than I did from the beginning. So evidently, if I would have taken the GI mapping test, I would have probably been anti-resistant to that particular antibiotic of whatever strain it is, right? And cocktail, as I call it, in that particular Z-Pack dosing. So that's extremely helpful.
Yes, absolutely. And, just going back to the candida overgrowth, a lot of women struggle with it. It's just a yeast infection, right?
Right.
And a lot of women don't respond to a pill, which is a diflucan. It's prescribed 99.9%. And some people have chronic yeast infection and chronically taking diflucan without any results, right? They have reoccurring yeast infection because they're resistant to that antibiotic. So that's where we have to, like I said, treat it naturally.
Right. Oh, great information. So I'm excited about this GI map test that you're now using. I mean, it really sounds like, it can kind of dive in a little bit deeper into some areas that some of our listeners definitely could be experiencing.
Yes, absolutely. And, we have to remember that our gut has a home to trillions of microorganisms that do everything, right? From strengthening our immune system and creating your happy chemicals to extracting energy from food. And a healthy gut contributes to a strong immune system, heart health, brain health, improved mood, healthy sleep, and effective digestion. So this GI map test can, improve your overall health. We're not just talking about testing for autoimmune disease like Hashimoto's or hair loss. And studies do show that most Hashimoto patients have gut dysbiosis, which is just imbalance of good and bad bacteria. And dysbiosis worsens hyperthyroidism symptoms, which in turns worsen the hair loss, right? So it's like a vicious cycle. You cannot treat one without the other. And now, think back to common Hashimoto triggers. They include what? Viruses, right? The Epstein-Barr virus. A lot of people, functional medicine believe that a lot of Hashimoto's disease or instances or cases is caused by this virus. So the GI map can test for it. Parasites also can trigger Hashimoto's, leaky gut, and mold. That's just to name a few. So you can get to the root cause of your autoimmune disease by testing your microbiome. Now, what are some other benefits of GI map besides everything I already named? So it can actually tell you how you're digesting and absorbing your food. Certain markers are measured to determine if your body is performing its digestive functions. So the test measures fat breakdown and digestive enzyme secretions to ensure you're breaking down your food properly and absorbing key nutrients. Now, think about it. If you don't have enough digestive enzymes, you're not breaking down nutrients, and your body is not absorbing. So you're looking at the nutrient deficiencies in your body, and those nutrient deficiencies will guarantee to lead to hair loss.
For sure. And that's one of the main reasons, when we've had many discussion on vitamins and minerals and amino acids, right? Mm-hmm. And strengthening those, because our hair, skin, and our nails are made of cells. And certainly when our cells are compromised, then the body is so smart. It absorbs the healthy cells when they're present into the critical organs and the vital organs of the body. The hair, skin, and the nails take a back seat. And if the body is not in 100% state, and certainly if there's this candida, if there are these pathogens, if this H. pylori or viruses are residing in the gut, which now we know we can see through these GI mapping, it's a great step to take when you're kind of to the end of your road. As you said, you had a patient in the other day and the labs looked good. Mm-hmm. Then also some of her thyroid looked good. But why does she still feel bad, right? And it's so important.
Yes, because 80% of our immune system is in our gut. Mm-hmm. So it was feeding constant, that whole body inflammation was just a fire going inside of her that nobody tested for.
Right. For sure.
Yeah. Well, now, Kimberly, since we're talking about nutrient deficiencies, is the single hair analysis test can kind of give us an insight of what's going on in our hair? Is it getting enough nutrition? Tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. Thank you for that. But it's the epigenetics test creates this same visual of what is truly going on in the body. And as you mentioned, because of 80% of how we feel is living in these soft tissues in the gut and in the areas that many times we forget to observe. And sadly, we don't really realize and take time to think about everything that we put in our mouth is in our body somewhere. And it has to be expelled. And so what happens to it in all of those processes? And so our hair follicle test is, as I mentioned, it's an epigenetic-based test. Now, this is where I want to give the audience a little bit of information here, because we want to explain the differences between labs, going into a traditional lab, drawing blood, versus our epigenetic, the hair follicle test or the GI test. I know, Dr. Monaco uses a lot of saliva testing. So there's many forms of tests. And this particular epigenetic test is very important because it looks at the behaviors, the environment, what you eat, and how physically active you are. And with epigenetics, it is the study of how these behaviors and the environment can really cause changes and affect the way that your genes work. So unlike genetic changes, epigenetic changes are reversible and do not change your actual DNA sequence. But they can change how your body reads a DNA sequence. So how you feel, right? What is actually happening to the amino acids that you have either added to your system through your diet or through a supplementation? Is the body going to utilize those aminos in the right sequence to help you feel better? Or are they going to get caught in the gut and in this biome that is living and is becoming toxic to your system? And so that is one of the main reasons we've really leveraged this particular test for so many of our clients when we have individuals come to the clinic, very much as you mentioned a moment ago, labs seem okay. This is always where I kind of scratch my head a little bit, and I'll use an example actually of a client that we are just beginning treatment with, who is a listener of the podcast, and came to us because he was concerned about testosterone levels and thyroid. And so he had some labs ran. And so as I was reviewing the labs with him, I realized that there had been no thyroid tests and there had been no testosterone tests. But he was on powders, and some different supplements. And so it was interesting because, I wanted to dig in a little bit more to find out what was going on. And, we realized that we really needed to look deeper. And when an individual is really looking for a natural solution, hopefully that's the reason that they become a listener of ours, because we certainly try to cross all spectrums of treatments, solutions, and natural forms to cure the body and to help the body. But we wanted to see what else was going on within the diet, what else was going in within the system. So we performed our hair follicle test, and what that test really details, and it can be performed on anyone, any place in the United States and Canada is where that at least we're sending our test right now. But it entails taking 4 small strands of hair and then adding them into a specific little Petri dish device that we send along with the testing. When it's sent back to our lab, then this mapping is then performed. And so that's how the report comes back and then gives us all these details. And so in this particular situation, the individual was healthy. However, we found that there were areas that were lacking, and they had not shown up on some of the other reports. In particular, vitamin B and vitamin D, and then also a specific omega. And so when we actually go through our testing, this particular epigenetic test is very detailed. We look at 800 markers, and so it breaks down the different antioxidants and amino acids and minerals. Thus, for everyone to understand, we're really trying to become trusted advisors on everything that we do. When I sit here, and I know, Nataliia, when you sit here and we talk to our audience, it's so important that we truly give you the opportunity to understand what options are available, what tests are available. Take control of your health. Make sure that you truly are being the manager of your health and not someone else. And so offering these opportunities with the GI mapping, with some of the specific labs and the blood work that we talk about, and we label ours, an alopecia diagnostics or an alopecia blood test, then talking about these epigenetic tests. There's just so many ways to keep moving and controlling your own body and your own health.
Absolutely. The resources are out there for our listeners to take advantage of. And, these 2 tests, the single hair analysis test and GI map test, it gives us such a great insight on what's going on inside our body, how we're digesting and absorbing food, how our immune system is, gut health. It tests for inflammation. And of course, another thing that I did not mention, that it can test for pancreatic insufficiency. And I think it's important because a lot of people are just taking digestive enzymes just to take because they've read it somewhere. But if you truly have pancreatic insufficiency, which GI map can test for, you have to you have to go to the doctor and get prescription for it. Just taking digestive enzymes will not solve the problem. So just a side note. So Kimberly told us how you guys can get a hand on a single analysis test, but where do you get the GI map test done? Well, the GI map test it's one of a kind and easy to take, no pricks needed, no blood work, just a stool sample from you. But you cannot order it for yourself online like other tests. It can only be ordered through a practitioner like me. So if you're interested in taking the test, check out podcast notes under this episode or visit my website, www.allpurposenutrition.com. You can schedule a free consultation with me to see if the GI map will provide you the information you need to get to the root cause of your symptoms. Now, I think, Kimberly, we kind of summarized it all and trying to wrap it all up, right? It was a great episode full of very useful information and actionable steps our listeners can take to manage their Hashimoto-related symptoms, hair loss. So if you guys learned anything new today, please consider leaving a rating and a review for this show so Kimberly and I can continue doing these episodes for you. Thank you for being a part of Thyroid Hair Loss Connection community, and have a great day.
See you soon. Bye-bye.